This work is more a collaboration with River Valley and all the problems we have with copy editing. You know, it's to do with years. Yeah. So for years we've been working as a copy editing company. We started as a copy editing company, TNQ. That was something like 10, 12 years back, I think around 2000. So we used to, most of the file come in MS Word, and we used to make HTML in those days, and we used to have converters that do HTML. And I come from, basically I came from academics, and I did a PhD in fluid mechanics. So I used to work in mainframe, so mostly simulations in DEC 10 then, you know, DEC 10 and DEC alpha and this. So I never used a word processor. So I had to write my PhD thesis. You know, I wrote a few papers in what they call Copywriter, right? Oh, yeah. And then my professor was likes all these things, you know, new word processors. So he brings WordLord and Copywriter and all that. So he gave me this Copywriter, and then I wrote a paper on it. And you know, in Tamil, Kai means hand. So what it means is basically you write it in hand. You know, you used to make fun of it. I use Copywriter because I write it in hand. So this professor was telling me to force me to use Copywriter, and I like to write in mainframe. Now I wrote it in Copywriter, and it's in Windows. You know those things. So what happened is one fine day, we're looking at the screen, and all the text started falling down. And then it fell down in a heap. I was wondering, what the hell is this? And that's the first time I'm looking at a computer virus. And it was, I was really wondering, what is this? You know, am I looking at a real thing? You know, is it falling down? You know? And then it took me a long time. You know, I think it took me 6 months to realize actually it's a simulation. It's a beautiful thing. You know, they've done it. You know? And then that's the last I looked at any Windows machine. Yeah? And then the mainframe is there, and then I write my PhD thesis. And I've been not writing much and moving years. You know, 5 years I've been wasting my time. And guy told me, you got to write it now. You know, and it's got to be 100 pages. You know, and then I wrote it. By the way, how I wrote it is I wrote it in the mainframe as a text file, right? And then I put certain markers. You know, I didn't know about TeX. So there was a guy who was very clever at TeX. You know, he's in computer science. And he told me, just put those backslashes in and where you want. You know, and then if you want an alpha, you just put /a or something you like. You know, and then I'll do the header for you. You know, so then I didn't even know what TeX was, and then he managed it for me. And that's how I started writing. And then the thesis went only for 70 pages, right? 70 or 80 pages. And then I'm stuck, and he wants it 100, and I'm just writing. There's nothing more to write, you know. And unless I cook up something, you know, which I'm really scared. You know, these referees can be very cryptical. And finally, the referee happens to be. It went to somebody in Berkeley and all that, so it would have been dangerous. But I added some rubbish there. What I did is this guy told me, "Don't worry, TeX will take care." There is something called baseline skip, you know. And then I managed it, you know. And he was happy. He said, "Oh, 90 pages, it's fine." You know? And that's how. And then I came here to this world, you know, the real world, where they use this TNQ, where we are copy editors, and they were doing this MS Word, and there's VB macros running, and they're creating HTML. And then I'm looking at this nightmare, and then we were copy editors then producing HTML. And then we had there's a company called Alden, you know, we were British, we had partnership there. And this company was producing HTML, and then we were, at one time the partnership was very edgy because we were doing the copy editing, they were doing the typesetting. But if you look at the website, they said that we do all the intellectual work and they just do the, you know, so that's not the thing, you know. But basically, this is the difficult part, you know. Copy editing is why you need all those skills. And then typesetting, they use 3B2 or something to produce the output. But over time, what happened is we gained confidence. we broke the partnership. And then my boss told me, now you got to do all the conversions. You got to take care of the software. You know so much. I say, what the hell? I got a MS Word file. What do I do with that? If it's LaTeX, I could do something. I could write a Perl script. This is MS Word file, and it's a binary format, doc format, and I know nothing about it. And there was no tools in those days. There was no Apache, Java thing to do that. And then I saw that it produces HTML. And that's a nice thing to start with. So I saved it as HTML. Then looked at that horrible thing. It's called HTML, but what happens is you get a bold tag, and then it overlaps like this. So the bold starts here and then ends here. And then italic starts here and then ends here. What is this? This is not even HTML, This is something else. In fact, there's a guy in MIT who is very expert in tags. He came with a new name for it. He calls it something. It's called worm tag. In fact, worm tag or something. This overlapping tags. It's a new markup. Where you make HTML more flexible to allow these things. But I saw that I tried to do a similar thing in TeX. TeX couldn't allow that. TeX breaks. So which is a nice thing. You got a nice data structure. Otherwise, you have these overlapping structures. They are a nightmare. So copyediting. So then I went to HTML, and then from HTML we were able to produce XML. Beautiful. See, we waited till 2000, and Word then started producing something which is well formed. In 2000, and they improved. But still, the nightmare was there. You could clean it up. You have this tidy and those. So that's how I made this all these conversion tools, and then now that's what we use. But copy editing, when we have lots of tools in Word, right? So we have interactive tools and all that. Now I was thinking, how do I port all these into TeX? Right? Because you have these interactions. See, you go into Word and then you've got menus which pop up and you have interactions, right? Now, how do you do that in TeX? So that's what I'm trying to do, and most of the work is done with CVRs, the two CVRs, and they're writing the package. It's in LaTeX 3, so I started compiling it in my system. I got TeXLite 2013 in my Mac. I just used the command line. So I got the 2003 and then started running this. I had a few bugs, so it didn't run. So then I updated the latest LaTeX 3 packages. Then it worked, because I think there's still some incompatibilities between versions, but it works. So this is a package we're going to release. It'll be called copy editing. So use package copy editing. That's what you're going to use. Yeah. So what we do, see, we do the same thing with MS Word as we do with TeX. So MS Word, what we do is we take the MS Word, pour it into this mold called XML, because when MS Word comes, it comes with 18-point size and 12-point size and all that italic and bold. So finally, when it goes into XML, it has to be, the 18-point size has to be titled, and the thing where authors are called, that has to be author, and the address has to be tagged, and so all those tags have to be tagged. So what we do is we take the TeX and pour it into XML mode, and if TeX comes well structured, then we don't have a problem. But if TeX is like use a /large for title, then there's no way you're going to do that unless you have clever scripts to do it. So over years, Rival has developed lots of such tools for converting from TeX to this thing. It's a kind of thing you build over years. So same way we've done it for Word. So we have even machine learning tools which pick up Word, and then we got like 200 datasets which we give it to Weka. There's a machine learning thing called Weka. So give it to that automatically recognizes this. If it's a big point size and it's happen to be on the top, it's likely to be the title, right? So it learns from that and then builds it. And we make XML, but it's not going to be perfect because any machine learning you do, you can't constrain the learning to make sure that it's valid to the DTD. Because you can only say this is this and that is this, but you can't put a constraint on the learning to say, but you got to follow the DTD, right? Because that's going through some kind of more complicated. So it's a constraint learning, that's difficult. So the main thing is that
I know it's hard, but Mike.
Oh, sorry. So the main thing is that there's a lot which happens between the cup and the lip. You know, my professor came to visit me some years back in my company, and then he was saying, "Oh God, we thought we give you the TeX file, and you're going to just put it into the typesetting system." He said, "Oh, you do so many things before that." It was so stunned to see, you know. We turn it into XML, and then the XML turns back into TeX, and all those magic things CVR does in TeX. Now, so it's a bit like smelting iron, you know, from the parent's ore, and then cleaning it, and then remaking it in the back again into something solid. You know? And it also the main reason, see, for example, some things people do for some reason, you know, say, for example, HTML itself was created to bring certain kind of standardization in what you produce. So, for example, the company elsewhere used to tell us that what we need is uniform quality, not good quality, right? So what they meant by that is probably they want you to reduce price, that's one thing, but the other thing is that what they meant is also they want uniform standards. So the HTML kind of ensures that, right? But it was all geared to, you produce the HTML, and then from that you produce PDF, then that ensures you produce the same, you know, everywhere. But that is geared to typesetting. So all the XML tags were geared to typesetting. But over years, sometimes it happens, you know, many years you do something, you forget about why you did that. So if you go and ask them why you're doing it, they might not even know. But it so happened like they went from HTML to XML, right? And now there is a creature called HTML5, right? Now you see it makes sense because all the effort of XML, now they have XML as math as MathML, and you know, table as CAS or something, and that fits nicely with the HTML5 scenario. So in a way, this does the bridging between the present and the future. And it's not only the XML, you know, we always think of the whole thing as being technology, you know. It's also the copy editors, you know. So the LaTeX also has geared to this world in its own way, you know. It's got this small little macros like which the LaTeX advancements, you know, like you use instead of /it, use /textid, you know. I never knew. I always was thinking that this is more verbose. Why do this, you know? So then you realize as you typeset there are differences which are important, you know. So those things have been made, and for example, if you do superscript, you put it in dollar and then put underscore, right? That's that way you actually turn it into math, right? But if you want it in text, then you have to use / superscript package or whatever, you know, that you do that. That way you keep text as text and, you know, math is math. So we are designing these as not a replacement of copyediting. As you see, these are not automations aspects of copyediting. These are necessary requirements which have been now being imposed on the typesetters now. Because what's happening is, what's happening is the publishers are now insisting that whatever changes these copy editors make, they have to be visible in the PDF. So they have to be transparently shown to the end user. So right now they're using annotations in PDF, right? And we could have been happy with that. The problem is that we saw that if you put something into PDF, it's not easy to take it out. And especially I remember like the Adobe guys came to our, had a meeting with us some time back. Like they didn't come to our office. We had a web meeting where these annotations they put in there. So I told them, do the annotations have the anchors? But what they did is they did a layer, graphical layer on top. So you could take the annotation out, but it only will give you the XY coordinate of where it is. It won't. There's no anchor to the text, so it's pretty useless. And I told them this is pretty useless. We need something better. But they said we don't have much time. We're going to release it next month. You know, so they just released it that way. And copyediting involves a lot of activity. It's a broad spectrum of activity, but it's been narrowed down now quite a bit. But its main purpose is the communication, right? So when you, let's say an author writes it, he has all the domain knowledge and everything, and he puts it in his paper. But you don't know how broad, how is the reach, because if he puts it there, maybe his friend can understand, but not many more. So it's the copywriter's task to not change it too drastically, and so that it changes semantics, but still keep the balance. So it's written in a common language. So there are two aspects to it. One is the semantic aspects, which are difficult for the copywriter also, because copywriter is not a domain expert. He's more you can just read it, but at some level he can get deeper. So so there are only stylistic and typographic aspects that the copywriter generally concentrates on. Semantic aspects are something which TeX is capable of doing, but it needs much bigger infrastructure, right? And in fact, I expect as years go, maybe another 20 years or 30 years, you will see that right now there is this thing, like we have this paper, then we have paper and we have scanned copies, right? And they're not sufficient because people say that unless you scan it and put it as text, then only they become recognized as electronic copies, because the scanned ones nobody could find or search, or So the same way, sorry. Oh, so this copyediting module has lots of little modules: localization, hyphenation, and Latin abbreviation acronyms. So localization involves American and British English. So you have DG versus DGE, Z versus S, S versus C. So these are the variations available. So what we do is we basically have macros. So wherever we get these words, we put these macros in. Where we have /VARA, it's a variation, And this also means wherever in Tamil means the other. So we just use it that way. So color, we just do this. And then you have a global switch, which says language equal to equal. If you do that, everywhere you have these elements, it will change back to whatever you want, right? So the copyediting process is a global process because you do copyediting as a whole, the document. And then at some level you decide, okay, now there's too many LOURs, so this has got to go to the British side, So you've got to decide which way to go. You've got to make it consistent, basically, right? So then these global switches help. But if you want to escape the global switches, sometimes words like analog, they're more stylistically, they'll have stylistic preferences. So then you've got to use the star macros to leave it at the default. You also have hyphenations, spaced words, and close-up. So you need macros to deal with them, right? So that you mark them up in the document. You don't leave it like that, so that you can manipulate them later. You have the hooks to manipulate them. You also have Latin abbreviations like et al. And those things with dots and without dots. So so these things will handle that. You could choose to have variables set there so that you can change them around. For example, if you say abbreviation equal to italic, then it would make them italic, the Latin ones italic. You have also acronyms. So acronym needs to be expanded to the first place, and then they got to be abbreviated later on. So you just mark them up as AC, whatever. Then these things would be expanded out later. You also have itemization. So some languages use firstly, secondly, thirdly, and then you have lastly also. But sometimes they forget secondly, and then they probably do fourthly. So these things takes care of this easily. And also, firstly, this Lee thing is also something, a stylistic thing. Somebody could decide suddenly the Lees could become first and second. You don't need the Lees. So, or you could turn them into lists. Numbered lists and whatever. So you have those options. Also, I have lists. These are lists which you can also turn around. You have parenthetical commas. Sometimes you have parenthetical commas. You could turn them into footnotes if you want. See, remember, there's the web has this problem of doing a footnote. They all disappear in the ebooks. That's a big complaint. So you could turn them into something else. If you had this. And then you have lists, and you also have another interesting thing which newspapers do all the time. You have this. His Holiness the Prince of Mangoistan, and then at the next level, like after a few lines, he becomes the Prince of Mangoistan, and then finally use the pronoun, he. But not all pronouns make sense, Sometimes we say it is raining. The it has nothing there. It's just a thing. So, but pronouns could be, sometimes some pronouns are confusing because you would say he, you don't know which he, because there are many he in the document. So this could actually refer to that. So there are lots more like to-do list, like juxtaposing. Juxtaposing is a very interesting one. That's one I would like to say it's a very interesting one. Like you have this push. See, you have sometimes people take a bit of thing here and then push it to here, right? Now, when you do that, the problem is that you need the push and pull. It's nice to mark it up because instead, if you didn't mark it up, it would say that you deleted this and inserted this, which is not the same because you lose that connectivity. So if you do this, then you have everything marked up. And the nice thing is, once you have everything marked up, you're now in a position to exploit that and give it an interface, right?
One question to the push and pull. I mean, often you have to change it slightly at the same time if you pull back.
So you need more switches. So there'll be more switches, So it's always yeah, okay. Just 2 slides. So you have this interactivity. So basically, once you put the hooks, then you can put an interface to it, and then give dashboards to actually have meters. So these macros may need to be simplified, and then we'll have a better package. But right now we're just releasing it as it is in LaTeX 3 syntax. But maybe it will get simplified over time. And there's another thing which I talked about in the Chinese this thing tag, a couple of this thing back, which is sense tag. But this is like a first step, first step to climbing. This is like training on Alps before you climb on the Everest,
Any questions?
I have.
Yes, please.
You said that the publishers want those notes on the side, marking out what has been changed. I mean, does the system keeps track of those as those are changed, or a person has to note the change on the side?
No. It does this. These track changes in Word.
Right.
So you also have that in HTML. You have the del and inst tag.
So that is automatic. As you push and pull, those are automatically reserved for the notes on the side.
No, we got to implement this. Like this is just a macro, but we need to implement it and show the thing, through some interesting. You know those copy editors marks. They do this.
Right.
So we've got to implement all that.
I have two questions. First, are you going to release this package with the tenants, or are you going to keep it for your proprietary work? And second question is, you probably need you need copy editors exceptionally well versed in TeX and TeX way of doing things to use this package, right?
Yeah. So that's what I was telling Rajak about. Like, you'll have a lot of requests for scripts, but they won't like to do it. So they'll say, "You give me a script, and then if it goes wrong somewhere, I'll fix it." So there'll be a little bit of automation required to do that. And about that, I think the present idea is that we're going to release it in a couple of weeks in C10.
Oh, absolutely great. Thank you. It would be very useful. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you again.